Today I'm going to share with you the top 5 mistakes that I see business owners, specifically online entrepreneurs, make when running or trying to run their LLC. Let's do this. Hi, my name is Jim Hart. I'm the founding attorney here at Hawthorn Law, where we help you, the online business owner, to get your legal house in order so that you can focus on what you do best, and that is building and growing your online business. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 of the top mistakes that I see online entrepreneurs make on a regular basis with regards to their LLCs. So let's jump into it. Now, if you're running an online business, then chances are you want to make sure everything is running smoothly and that everything is set up properly so that you don't run into any mistakes later on. And that typically starts with forming your LLC. Now, maybe you form a different business entity. You could form a corporation, you could form a partnership, you could be a sole proprietor, but a lot of people elect for an LLC because of its flexibility, and there's a lot of other benefits to having that. I'm not going to get into that in today's video. Let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that you have formed an LLC. The problem that I see specifically with people that reach out to me is that once people form their LLC, they aren't quite sure what to do to make sure that it's run properly and that they don't make any mistakes that could jeopardize the status of having that LLC. And this is really important because if you mess up the setup of your LLC or you mess up the running of your LLC, then it's possible that your corporate veil could be pierced if you run into a lawsuit later on. Most people form an LLC because they want the limited liability protection that comes with it. And what that means is that if in the event that you get sued as a business owner, your personal assets are going to be shielded from liability related to your business. So in other words, if you have a house, a car, an investment account, other real estate, things of that sort, then a plaintiff that sues you, that sues your business, can't get at those assets to satisfy a judgment that they might get against your business. And I realize a lot of you think that you're never going to get sued. But when you own your own business, even if it's an online business, and even if you're a single member LLC, the risk of you getting sued goes up because of the fact that you're going to be dealing with a lot more clients and customers who are going to be buying products and services from you. So you're at a higher risk of receiving a lawsuit than a typical person would be. Which is all the more reason why you need to operate your LLC properly to keep your legal house in order. Now, I've done several videos that talk about the legal mistakes that people make with their LLCs right here and right here. And rather than rehash all the same mistakes that I've talked about in those videos, I thought I would bring up some of the additional mistakes that I see people make. And so today I want to briefly touch on what an LLC is, and then I want to go into the 5 major mistakes that I see online entrepreneurs make that could get them into legal hot water with their LLC. So let's start with what exactly an LLC is. An LLC can either be a single member LLC or a multi-member LLC. So a single member LLC involves one person as the owner, which is a pretty common way to set it up if you're an online business. A multi-member LLC would involve you and several partners, or maybe one partner of that LLC. Now, the main reason you're going to set up your LLC is because you're looking for that limited liability protection. I tell people that if you don't have assets to protect, you really don't need to set up an LLC. But if you do have assets, if you have real estate, if you have investments, if you have, significant personal wealth that you want to protect when you're starting your online business, then an LLC is definitely the way to go. But you need to make sure that you set it up properly so that you don't pierce that corporate veil. So let's jump into the 5 major mistakes that people make in setting up their LLC, now that you have a good background of what an LLC is. The first mistake I see people make is they form their LLC too soon. Now, what do I mean by that? I see people who, like I said before, they don't have any assets to protect. They are just getting started with their online business, and I just found an interesting statistic that says that 90% of online businesses fail within the first 4 months. And so I see people that run out and they're so gung-ho and so excited to start their online business. The first thing they do is they start their LLC. They don't have any revenue, they don't have any clients, they don't have a website yet, but they want to make sure they're set up properly, so they go ahead and start their LLC. I think this is a huge mistake. I think it is important to get that LLC in place when the time is right. If you're not generating any revenue and you don't have any clients and you don't have any prospects of revenue on the horizon, then setting up your LLC is really not something you need to do. Basically, if you're in that situation, you could set up a bank account in the name of your business, get an EIN number in the name of your business, and operate as a sole proprietor and save yourself a lot of time and money and effort in setting up that LLC. Again, you're not going to have any liability protection there, but to be honest, the chances of you getting sued before you're even generating revenue are slim to none. The second major mistake I see people make when they're getting their LLC in order is that they don't follow the proper corporate formalities. So what does that mean? It means they don't have an operating agreement in place. It means they don't track their business expenses. It means you don't have a separate business bank account that is distinct and separate from your personal bank account. That is a huge one. It means that you're not keeping proper records for the business, for the decisions you make in the business, for if you decide to invest in some significant assets for the business, you're not documenting that and making sure that it is approved by the membership, which is honestly you. This is really the proverbial, you set up the LLC and then you totally forget that you even had it in existence. Maybe you get a separate bank account, maybe you get an EIN number, but other than that, you don't really do a whole lot else to show that you actually have a legitimate business that you're operating. And by failing to do that, then you increase the likelihood that if you do get sued, that the corporate veil is going to be pierced. Third mistake I see people make is they fail to adequately capitalize their business. Now, what does that mean? There's really two phases of capitalization for your LLC. Now, if you start your LLC too soon, chances are you're not going to have adequate capitalization, but it's going to be because you don't have any revenue coming into the business. Maybe you've invested a little bit of your own personal funds into the business. Maybe that's enough to cover your expenses. Maybe it's not. But in all likelihood, if you're not generating any revenue, then you're not going to be adequately capitalized. Now, that can frequently be forgiven, especially if you're a startup. Now, the second way that you could be inadequately capitalized is if you're actually generating revenue for your business and you're running your business and you're being somewhat successful. Now, at this point, you need to keep money in the business. You can't just take and you can't just take all the revenue and as soon as it comes into the business, take it out and show your business operating at a loss. You can't do that. That is going to get you into problems, and that is going to show that there's no distinct line between you and your business such that the corporate veil could be pierced. Which leads me to the fourth mistake I see people make, and that is commingling business and personal funds. This is probably one of the most common mistakes that I see online entrepreneurs make. And basically what's happening here is you're using your business as your personal slush fund. If you're running short on funds and you need to go to the grocery store, but you got a bunch of money in the business account, rather than writing yourself a check out of the business and depositing it into your personal account and then paying for the groceries out of your personal account, you just start paying for expenses out of the business account and you try and call them some sort of operating expenses. Not only is this potentially tax fraud, but it is also going to get you into severe trouble if and when you get sued and somebody is going to look into your financial records and see that you're basically running the business as your personal slush fund. In terms of how to operate your business to make sure that doesn't happen, I typically recommend that you do write a check from the business to yourself, deposit in your personal account, and then pay for any personal expenses out of your personal account. The business is meant to pay for business expenses, and do not deviate. Keep that line in place and treat it just like, pretend that you're not the business owner, pretend that somebody else is the business owner, and if it's a legitimate expense that you would pay for out of the business expense, ask the business owner, which is you, is this something that I should pay for out of the business account? If it is not, then don't. It's really that simple. Now, the last mistake I see people make when they're operating their LLC is that they don't operate their LLC, they don't sign their contracts as the owner of the business. So the way I see this frequently is that you're not going to be entering into contracts with other people as you're the owner of the LLC, but rather you might be entering into contracts as a personal individual, and you're not signing the contracts as member owner of the LLC. This is really important. You want to make sure all your contracts state that they are between your LLC with you as the member owner and the other party, as the other side to the contract. If you sign contracts in your individual capacity, then the LLC isn't going to provide you with any type of corporate protection. So if you follow the guidelines I've set forth in this video, you're going to drastically decrease the likelihood that your LLC's corporate veil is going to be pierced and you could be held personally responsible for the debts and liabilities and potentially judgments of the business. And hopefully, honestly, that's going to make you sleep better at night knowing that your business is set up properly. At least I hope. If you want to know more about the things that you need to do first when you first set up your LLC, click here. Here's another video that talks about the biggest things that you need to do when you set up your LLC to make sure, again, that you're not making any of these mistakes or doing anything else that could jeopardize your corporate status. Thanks again, folks. We'll see you in the next video.